Success does not belong to the lucky. It belongs to the prepared. It belongs to the ones who choose clarity over noise, who choose discipline over impulse, who choose identity over image. The Stoic philosophy teaches that you do not chase success. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who is ready to carry it. Every decision is a step in that direction, or away from it. Your thoughts, your actions, your habits, your values, they are not random. They are ingredients in the life you are quietly creating, and what you create will either hold you up or break you down. Success is not a moment. It is a mirror. It reflects back everything you have become in silence. Some people seem to draw success in as if it seeks them instead of the other way around. But it is not magic. It is not genetics. It is not the alignment of stars. It is alignment of self. They are not waiting to feel motivated. They are moving from identity. They act as if success is already theirs, not because of arrogance, but because they have built what success requires. The Stoic does not wish. He becomes. And in becoming, he finds that success is no longer a pursuit but a consequence, a reflection of values, lived standards, upheld principles, defended in the dark, in the quiet, when no one is watching. Who you are when you are alone is who you attract when the world sees you. So ask yourself, what kind of person would success trust? Not momentarily, but fully. The man who says he wants success but lives in self-doubt will sabotage it even if he reaches it. The man who builds confidence through discipline will be prepared even when opportunity arrives unannounced. You are not building a dream. You are becoming someone, and that someone is what draws success in. You must become a person of strength, not noise, of quiet resolve, not temporary bursts, of standards, not slogans. The Stoic trains his mind long before the moment arrives. He acts before he feels like it. He builds before the world believes in him. Because belief is not what he waits for. It is what he builds from within. So today, do not chase. Do not beg. Do not hope. Become. Let every decision be a stroke on the canvas. Let every moment be a vote for the future you say you desire. Because in the end, success is not impressed by talk. It is magnetized by identity. And identity is not something you say. It is something you show over time, in silence, in structure, in stillness. Every day you shape the person you are becoming. Not in great leaps, but in the smallest of choices. What you tolerate, what you repeat, what you allow into your mind, and what you remove. The Stoic philosophy reminds us that the future is not built tomorrow. It is built today, in this hour, in this moment. And it begins with habit. Habits are not decoration. They are architecture, and whether you realize it or not, you are always building. The only question is, what kind of structure are you shaping? Some build walls to keep out responsibility. Others build doors to invite in possibility. Some construct routines that reinforce weakness. Others forge systems that strengthen identity, and the difference is rarely loud. It is not posted, it is not praised, but it is always visible in the results that follow. The person who attracts success has simply rehearsed success so deeply that it has no choice but to appear, not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. You cannot attract what you are not. You cannot hold what you have not trained for. You cannot maintain what you stumble into if you have not become the person who can carry it. This is why the Stoic wakes with intention. He does not ask, what should I do today? He asks, who must I be, so that what I do flows from identity, not impulse. And that identity is forged in repetition, not in grand gestures, but in quiet commitment. Wake early. Breathe deeply. Move with purpose. Say no when you mean it. Follow through when it's hard. Rest without guilt. Reflect without drama. Each act is a message to your nervous system. Each routine is a rehearsal of the man you are becoming. And soon those around you begin to notice. Not because you told them, but because your energy begins to shift. You no longer seek approval, because you approve of the path you walk. You no longer need applause, because your integrity is your anchor. You are no longer swayed by every wave of opinion, because your habits hold you steady. This is what it means to attract success. Not by manipulation, but by becoming a match for the outcome you say you desire. So before you write goals, write your identity. Before you ask how, ask who. And if the man you are today is not yet the man who can carry the success you want, begin the work of aligning. Not with pressure, but with precision. Every thought, every behavior, every hour either reinforces that man or removes you from him. There is no neutral. And so you return again to discipline, not as punishment, but as devotion. Because success is not something you catch. It is something you attract when who you are makes it inevitable. To become someone who attracts success, you must separate yourself from the crowd that chases it. You must choose the slower path, the deeper path, the path of building, not begging. The Stoic philosophy does not teach pursuit, it teaches preparation. You prepare by refining your standards, because what you tolerate you reinforce. Every time you allow inconsistency, you become it. Every time you excuse your laziness, you strengthen it. You do not attract excellence by compromising with mediocrity. You attract success by becoming a standard, a man whose presence speaks before he opens his mouth. Not from ego, but from alignment. Not from noise, but from quiet order. Every person who has truly succeeded did not wait for permission. They made a decision, then they embodied it. You want to be respected, then respect your own time. You want to lead, then lead yourself first. You want to be trusted, then keep your own word even when no one is listening. This is what the Stoic understands. That success is not random. It follows structure, and that structure begins with how you carry yourself when nothing is guaranteed. Look at the people who rise. They are not always the smartest or the loudest, but they are the most consistent. They show up. Again. And again. Especially when it's inconvenient. They act when others are waiting. They stay the course when others are distracted. They speak less and do more, because they know that the results are louder than any speech. You cannot attract greatness with half-hearted effort. You must live as though success is already watching, because it is. It is watching how you handle delay, how you respond to failure, how you treat the unseen moments. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. The Stoic refines himself through simplicity. He removes what is not essential so that what is essential becomes powerful. He clears the clutter in his space, in his thinking, in his choices, so that energy is not wasted on what doesn't serve the man he is becoming. This refinement is not easy. It requires solitude. It requires saying no. It requires standing alone. But the one who dares to refine becomes undeniable, not because the world gave him anything, but because he gave everything to become someone worthy of receiving. So refine, simplify, hold the line. Let your actions speak for the man you are shaping. And in time you will find that success does not need to be chased when you have become the kind of man who draws it in without ever leaving himself behind. There is a moment when the noise fades, when you stop seeking approval, when you stop performing for the world, and you finally ask yourself, who am I becoming? This is where the real work begins. Not in doing more, but in being more. Not in chasing outcomes, but in aligning identity. The Stoic philosophy teaches that identity precedes achievement. You do not build a life by collecting results. You build it by forging character. The man who knows who he is moves differently. He does not rush because he is not running from himself. He does not pretend because there is no mask to maintain. His habits flow from principle. His discipline is quiet because it does not need to be praised. He acts not out of fear, but out of conviction. This man becomes magnetic, not because he demands attention, but because he radiates presence. And that presence comes from deep alignment. Alignment between what he believes and what he lives. Between his vision and his habits. Between his values and his schedule. There is no contradiction between his words and his choices, and that kind of man cannot be ignored. You want to attract success, but do you trust yourself to carry it when it comes? Because success amplifies everything. If you are disordered, success will break you. If you are insecure, success will expose you. If you are dishonest, success will reveal you. But if you are grounded, success becomes a tool, not a burden. If you are disciplined, success becomes rhythm, not chaos. If you are aligned, success becomes a mirror of everything you already are. This is why the Stoic prepares not for the world's applause, but for the world's weight. He trains himself in solitude so that when pressure arrives, he does not collapse. He knows that a man must be solid before he can be seen. So stop asking, how can I be successful, and start asking, who do I need to become to carry what I say I desire? Let that question guide your mornings. Let it shape your evenings. Let it simplify your choices. Because the answer is never found in the world. It is found in your alignment, and alignment is not given. It is earned. Earned through discipline. Earned through reflection. Earned through the decision to stop pretending and to start becoming. Success is not a performance. It is the natural outcome of a man who refuses to betray who he is. So stand still and ask, am I becoming the kind of man who draws in what matters because he refuses to abandon himself? If the answer is yes, keep walking. If the answer is no, pause, return to your center, and begin again. That is the path. You have aligned your identity. Now comes the test of whether you will live it consistently, especially in discomfort. Because alignment is not proven in ease, it is proven in difficulty. The Stoic philosophy does not measure a man by how he behaves when life is simple. It measures him by how he responds when everything is uncertain, delayed, resisted, tested. You say you want success, but are you willing to walk without applause, without results, without proof until the foundation is solid? This is the difference. The ones who attract success do not rush it. They build patiently. They train quietly. They sacrifice distractions for depth. While others seek shortcuts, they seek character. While others chase speed, they build rhythm, because they know that what is rushed rarely lasts, and they are not here for temporary validation. They are here for transformation. So ask yourself, do I want to feel accomplished, or do I want to be prepared? Do I want the appearance of strength or the substance of it? You do not need another motivational quote. You need repetition. You need to master the mundane. Wake up when you said you would. Sit in silence even when your mind screams. Do the work, even when the results don't show. This is not punishment. This is practice. You are not training for today. You are training for who you are becoming. And who you are becoming needs a foundation stronger than feeling. The Stoic understands this. He does not wait for motivation. He acts from principle. He honors his process even when no one is watching, especially then. He does not broadcast his routine. He lives it. He does not need to prove that he is becoming someone. He knows because his actions confirm it every day. And that confirmation is enough. You may be tempted to abandon your process, to compare your pace to someone else's highlights, to crave speed when your soul requires stillness. Do not fall for it. This world will always offer you the illusion of progress without the pain of process. But true power is built slowly. True peace comes not from arrival, but from knowing that you are walking your path without compromise. This is the core of the Stoic life. Not chasing, not pleasing, not performing, but becoming deeply, quietly, fully. The man who no longer needs success to feel worthy because he already walks as someone worthy of it. And from that place, success follows not because you demanded it, but because you became the only kind of person it could trust to carry it. You have walked far, but the road will always offer a reason to turn back. Fatigue, doubt, delay, silence. And this is where many stop. Not because they cannot succeed, but because they expect success to arrive faster, easier, louder. But success is not impatient. It waits to see if you are becoming the kind of person who no longer needs it to keep going. The Stoic philosophy teaches that purpose is not proven by intensity, but by persistence. The man who continues even when there is no reward, no praise, no momentum is the man who has already become something unshakable. Because he is not driven by outcome, he is driven by alignment. He shows up not for applause, but because showing up is who he is now. Discipline is not pain, it is identity in motion. Each small act, each repeated ritual, each day lived deliberately is another brick in the structure of the person you are creating. And when doubt returns, as it always does, you do not argue with it. You outlive it. You outwork it. You outlast it. You return to rhythm. The Stoic does not expect every day to feel powerful. He expects to feel resistance. He expects to be tested. And he welcomes it because it is proof that he is on a path worth walking. You will be tired. You will be discouraged. You will want to stop. But if your values are clear, your habits will carry you. That is why you build them, so that when emotion fades, action remains. You may not feel confident, but you still do the work. You may not feel inspired, but you still uphold your standards. You may not feel seen, but you still hold your posture, your presence, your process. This is where power lives, in consistency, not performance. Because when your soul is aligned with your actions, you don't need proof. You already know. Success becomes quiet. It becomes a byproduct of character. Not the reason you move, but the natural result of how you move. You become the man who no longer asks if it's working because he trusts the process more than his doubt. That kind of man cannot be stopped. He has already decided. And from that decision, he creates days that turn into momentum, that turns into mastery. This is how you win. Not once, but always. Not loud, but lasting. You are no longer moved by noise. You are no longer chasing speed. You are now living by rhythm, by design, by quiet conviction. But there is one more layer that separates those who succeed for a moment and those who succeed for a lifetime. That layer is responsibility. The Stoic philosophy reminds us that power is not in control over others, but in full responsibility over self. To attract success, you must first own your outcomes, not just the good ones, especially the painful ones. You cannot lead your life while blaming others for the path. You cannot build strength while holding someone else responsible for your weakness. Everything you do, every habit you reinforce, every boundary you neglect, every thought you allow is a reflection of what you are building, and you must own it, without drama, without defense, without denial. Responsibility is not shame, it is freedom. Because once you realize that your life is in your hands, you are no longer at the mercy of what happens to you. You become the architect of what happens next. This is the mindset of those who attract what they desire. They are not waiting for perfect timing. They are not waiting for circumstances to shift. They are not hoping for someone to rescue them. They are building. Now. Here. From where they stand. And when they fall, they do not look for someone to blame. They ask, what did I miss? What did I ignore? What can I improve? Then they rise. Wiser. Sharper. Clearer. You will be tested. You will be misunderstood. You will be underestimated. But if you stay in full responsibility, no one can take your power, because your power was never theirs to begin with. Do not outsource your confidence. Do not outsource your peace. Do not outsource your discipline. Bring it all back to you. Own your time. Own your reactions. Own your energy. Own your growth. Own your silence. Own your process. This is not control. This is ownership. The Stoic does not complain. Not because he is numb, but because he knows his focus is sacred. Every time you speak, you feed something. Feed truth, not excuses. Feed clarity, not chaos. Feed creation, not distraction. Your words shape your mind, and your mind shapes your future. So protect your words. Make them intentional. Make them few. Make them real. And most of all, make them match your actions. Because when your words and your habits align, you become undeniable. You become trusted. By others, and by yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of all confidence, and self-trust is built by keeping your word, especially when it's hard, especially when no one else sees. You do not need a bigger goal. You need deeper integrity. You do not need another strategy. You need greater self-honesty. And if you have that, everything else will come Not because you chased it, but because you became too prepared, too disciplined, too stable to be overlooked. That is how you attract success. You have chosen responsibility. You no longer wait. You no longer blame. You build. But to remain unshakable, you must master one final enemy: distraction. The Stoic philosophy teaches that what you allow into your mind becomes your life. And in this age, distraction is no longer accidental. It is engineered. Every screen, every feed, every false urgency is designed to fragment you, to pull you away from the stillness where your power lives. To attract success, you must learn to protect your attention like it is your soul. Because it is. Your focus is your future. And what you give it to either builds you or breaks you. Most men are not weak. They are simply unfocused. They have allowed their minds to become playgrounds for every passing trend, every opinion, every low-value thought that brings them no closer to who they wish to become. But the Stoic sees through the noise. He turns away. He trains himself to sit with silence, to seek depth, not dopamine. You must do the same. You do not need more information. You need less interference. You do not need to know everything. You need to master a few things completely. So choose your inputs with care. Choose your conversations. Choose your environment. Choose your silence. Protect mornings. Build rituals. Create spaces where thought can breathe. Your greatest ideas will not come from the scroll. They will come from stillness. Your clearest direction will not come from noise. It will come from presence. To attract success, you must become focused on what truly matters and ruthless in eliminating what doesn't. That means letting go of distractions that feel good, but cost you your strength. That means deleting, not just apps, but patterns. That means saying no even when it feels uncomfortable so you can say yes to your deepest alignment. The Stoic lives this way, not because he is better, but because he has seen the cost of chaos, and he refuses to pay it again. He knows that every hour spent in distraction is an hour stolen from his mission. He is not perfect, but he returns quickly to focus. That's the practice. Not never falling, but always returning. So when you get distracted, return. When you slip, return. When your mind wanders, bring it home. This is the discipline. This is the mindset of someone who attracts greatness not by chasing, but by refusing to be pulled away from who he is becoming. Protect your focus, and you protect your future. You have reclaimed your focus. You have turned away from noise. You have begun to master the space between thought and action. Now you must learn to lead, not others, but yourself. The Stoic philosophy teaches that the greatest form of leadership is self-leadership, because the man who cannot lead himself will eventually fail everyone else. You attract success not by controlling the world, but by commanding your direction regardless of what the world is doing. True self-leadership begins when you no longer need to be told what must be done. You no longer wait to feel like it. You no longer look for permission. You no longer need the threat of failure to move forward. You lead yourself because you have made a vow, a quiet promise to no longer abandon the man you were born to become. You wake yourself. You speak to yourself with strength. You act even when no one is watching, especially then. You hold your vision not as fantasy, but as command. You walk into your day not looking for direction, but bringing it, because the leader you need is already within you. But he only appears when you stop negotiating with weakness. He only emerges when you decide once and for all that you will not betray yourself again. And when you lead yourself consistently, quietly, deliberately, the world begins to respond differently. Opportunities move closer. People begin to notice. Respect arrives without needing to be asked for. But this was never the goal. It is simply the reflection of the man you have become. Self-leadership is not about force. It is about alignment. You are no longer driven by guilt, but by groundedness. You are no longer moved by panic, but by plan. You are no longer reactive, but responsive. And that presence, that steadiness, that calm certainty becomes your signature. People begin to feel it before you speak, not because you are loud, but because you are aligned. This is the fruit of leading yourself. You no longer ask, What should I do? You ask, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Then you do it, without delay, without excuse, without explanation. And even if the action is small, the identity it reinforces is massive. Because each time you choose discipline, you lead yourself deeper into the life you once only dreamed about. And each time you let weakness win, you delay that life by another step. So ask yourself, am I leading from truth or from habit? Am I making decisions from my vision or from my emotions? Am I showing up for who I am now or for who I am becoming? The Stoic never forgets that every action is a signal to his future, and he leads himself as if his legacy is being written in real time. Because it is. You are being shaped in the silence. You are being defined in the mundane. You are being sculpted in the hours you thought didn't matter. So lead yourself as if it all matters. Because it does. And the man who leads himself without compromise will never need to chase anything. Everything will eventually follow. You have learned to lead yourself, to walk without applause, to move without noise. But now you must learn to stay, because it is not the man who starts strong that shapes the world. It is the man who stays consistent when momentum fades, when the results delay, when the fire flickers. The Stoic philosophy is not about intensity, it is about endurance. Because in life, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack rhythm. They chase peaks. They avoid plateaus. But the truth is, greatness is built in the middle. The middle where nothing feels exciting. The middle where no one is clapping. The middle where you question everything but keep going anyway. This is where strength is forged. Not in the beginning, not at the finish line, but in the quiet, unseen, relentless repetition that most will never choose to face. Success does not go to the man who works hard once. It goes to the man who works with precision again and again and again. Without growing bitter, without needing reward, without becoming loud. You must stay. Stay in your process. Stay in your discipline. Stay in your values even when no one acknowledges them. Because the moment you break your word, you do not lose the world, you lose yourself. And that cost is too high. You want to be powerful? Then be predictable in your standards. Be predictable in your presence. Be predictable in how you show up for yourself every single day. While the world changes, you stay anchored. While others quit, you return, because your process is no longer about the outcome. It is about who you are when no one is validating your effort. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy, that you do not live by emotion. You live by principle. You are not driven by reaction. You are driven by rhythm. You build slowly because what is slow is hard to break. You build deeply because what is deep is hard to shake. And you no longer ask, when will it happen? You ask, how long can I stay aligned without needing anything in return? That is maturity. That is mastery. Because a man who stays consistent in silence cannot be stopped. He becomes the kind of man who no longer fears the delay. He trusts the foundation. He trusts the path. He trusts himself. And that trust becomes power. The world watches, but does not understand, because the results come slowly, then all at once. And when they arrive, you are not surprised. You are ready, because you stayed when others left. You showed up when others faded. You honored the standard when no one else remembered it. And now everything aligns, not because you chased it, but because you stayed long enough to let it find you. You have stayed. You have endured the silence. You have chosen rhythm over rush. Now you must learn to carry success without letting it change who you are. Because the test does not end when success arrives. The test begins again. Many men are destroyed not by failure but by arrival. They forget what built them. They abandon what shaped them. They lose the stillness that gave them power and replace it with noise, with attention, with ego. The Stoic philosophy warns us that success is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a greater responsibility. The responsibility to remain the same in what matters. To stay disciplined when luxury invites you to loosen. To stay humble when praise begins to surround you. To stay present when the world begins to pull you everywhere at once. To stay yourself when the world tries to remake you in its image. You did not walk this path to become impressive. You walked it to become solid. And if success tempts you to abandon what made you strong, you must return to the beginning, to the silence, to the structure, to the reason you began. Because real success does not separate you from yourself. It brings you deeper into who you truly are. You can have wealth and still be simple. You can have recognition and still be silent. You can have power and still be kind, but only if you remember that none of it defines you. You were already whole before the world noticed, and that wholeness is what drew success in. So do not give it away for applause. Do not trade your peace for status. Do not lose your rhythm for the sake of momentum. Hold your structure. Protect your morning. Keep your word. Stay anchored. Khyatiri, Stoic man does not inflate when praised. He does not shrink when overlooked. He remains, because he knows that the reward was never the result. It was always the becoming. You are not here to impress. You are here to embody, and embodiment does not change when circumstances do. So let the world be loud. Let success come and go. Let opportunities knock and choose carefully, because you are no longer the man who needs validation. You are the man who carries alignment, and alignment is the rarest form of power. It cannot be bought. It cannot be gifted. It must be lived. So, live it every day, even now, especially now, when success knocks open the door, but do not leave yourself behind. You have walked the path. You have chosen clarity over chaos, rhythm over rush, presence over performance. You have become the man who no longer needs to chase because he has become what he once thought he had to seek. This is the final truth. Success is not something you find. It is something you align with. And alignment comes from who you are in silence. Who you are when no one claps. When the days feel flat. When no one watches but you still rise. Still train. Still hold the standard. The Stoic philosophy reminds us that the rarest strength is to be unmoved in a world that moves constantly. To remain when others quit. To hold when others fold. To listen when others shout. To live without needing to be seen. That is the man who attracts, because he has become a source of gravity, of groundedness, of quiet force. Success cannot resist that, because success is not drawn to the loudest voice. It is drawn to the clearest presence, and presence is not about attention. It is about inner stillness, the kind that only comes when your values are lived, not just spoken. When your habits reflect your identity, not your insecurity. When your time, your focus, your effort are all guided by something deeper than desire, guided by principle. You are no longer here to impress. You are here to embody. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak to affirm what you already live. You no longer ask, how do I get more? You ask, how do I stay closer to the truth of who I am and who I must continue to become? Because now you understand. Success is not outside of you. It never was. It is what happens when your inner world is ordered, disciplined, aligned. When your outer world becomes a reflection, not a mask. You have built not just a process, but a posture, a way of standing in the world without bending, without begging, without breaking. That is what makes you attractive to the things that matter, to opportunity, to respect, to legacy, not because of what you have, but because of what you hold. And what you hold is power. The quiet kind, the rare kind, the kind built in solitude, in stillness, in silence. You are now the man who does not chase alignment but creates it, not once but daily, not through motivation but through rhythm. This is the final form of attraction, not needing, just being grounded, being clear, being consistent, being whole. And from this place you attract all that is real. Because real recognizes real. Discipline recognizes discipline. Depth recognizes depth. The man who builds himself in silence will never have to prove himself in noise. Let that be your legacy. Not that you chased the world, but that you became the kind of man the world could not ignore. And you did it not with noise, but with stillness. Not with ego, but with essence. Not with performance, but with the unshakable presence of a man who lives by Stoic philosophy.